Many people think that the more you sleep, the healthier you become. It feels almost natural to assume that if 7 hours are good, then 9 or 10 must be even better. But as the years go by, the body and mind begin to live by slightly different rules, and what once seemed like a blessing can turn into a quiet burden. Have you noticed how sometimes, after sleeping a long night, you wake up not refreshed, but heavy, foggy, and strangely weary? That's not because you've done something wrong. It's simply a sign that your body is speaking to you in a new language, one that asks for balance rather than excess. Aging, in many ways, is a lesson in balance. When we are younger, our bodies can absorb extremes: too little rest, too much work, late nights followed by heavy mornings. But as the decades pass, the wisdom of the body begins to whisper that less is often more. 8 hours of sleep can be restorative, but stretching beyond that, day after day, may slowly drain your clarity instead of restoring it. It might surprise you, but oversleeping can dull memory, make joints feel stiff, and even leave the heart more sluggish than it should be. Think of it not as a punishment, but as a reminder that rest is not measured only by length, but by quality and rhythm. There's a quiet beauty in realizing this. It means that each morning is no longer about, did I get enough hours, but rather, do I feel alive, light, and steady? That shift in perspective is part of the gift of age, learning that the measure of life is not always quantity, but depth and presence. Ask yourself gently, without judgment, when you sleep longer than usual, do you truly feel better? Or do you notice a little more heaviness in your thoughts and body? Do you wake up eager to move, or does the day feel like it has already slipped through your fingers? These are not tests to pass or fail. They are simple questions to help you notice your own rhythms, because your body is wiser than any rule written in a book. And if you find yourself realizing that more sleep doesn't always equal more strength, then you're already taking the first step toward a gentler, more balanced way of living. By the way, I would love to know where you're reading this from. Share your location in the comments. It's always heartwarming to see how wisdom connects us across different cities, countries, and corners of the world. Maria was 72 when she first noticed that her mornings felt heavier than they used to. She had fallen into the habit of sleeping 10, sometimes even 11 hours at night, believing that more rest would heal her aching joints and give her back the energy she missed. But instead of waking up refreshed, she found herself moving slower, her head clouded, her body reluctant to start the day. At first, she thought it was just age, an unavoidable decline. Yet when she began gently reducing her time in bed, aiming for 7.5 to 8 hours instead, something surprising happened. Her mind felt clearer, her steps lighter, and her mood calmer. It wasn't magic. It was simply that her body no longer needed the long hours it once did. And what it truly craved was rhythm, not excess. You might recognize yourself in Maria's story. Perhaps you too have believed that the more you sleep, the stronger you will feel. And yet, there's a quiet truth. Oversleeping can sometimes be a signal that your sleep quality is uneven, or that your body is struggling to restore itself efficiently. Longer hours in bed don't always equal deeper rest. They can sometimes mean the opposite. That's why it can be so helpful to listen not just to the clock, but to how you actually feel when you rise. One simple way to do this is to keep a small sleep diary. Nothing complicated, just jot down when you go to bed, when you wake up, and how you feel upon rising. Notice patterns. Does more sleep bring energy, or does it leave you with stiffness and heaviness? Pay attention not only to hours, but also to mornings that feel light versus those that feel dull. These observations are a form of self-kindness, not a task to perform. If you discover that your body feels best with a little less time in bed, you can gently adjust. Try shifting your bedtime by just 15 minutes at a time instead of forcing sudden changes. Over a week or two, that small step can create a remarkable difference. Think of it as tuning an instrument. A tiny turn of the string can restore harmony. And remember, your goal is not to restrict yourself, but to honor your natural rhythm. The body at 70 or 80 has different needs than it did at 30 or 40, and honoring those changes is a sign of wisdom, not weakness. It's about learning the language of your own energy. If this reflection speaks to you, I warmly invite you to subscribe. I share more gentle, practical ways to support your health and well-being in later years, always with the understanding that your journey deserves patience and compassion. Because the truth is, you don't need to do everything at once. You just need to listen, adjust, and let your body show you the way forward. Science often gives us gentle explanations for the things we feel but cannot quite name. When it comes to sleep, the body's changes with age are subtle yet powerful. After 60, the production of melatonin, the hormone that guides our sleep-wake rhythm, naturally declines. That means the cycles of rest are shorter, lighter, and more fragile than they used to be. The deep restorative stages of sleep, the ones that leave you feeling fully renewed, become less frequent. So when you lie in bed for 9 or 10 hours, it doesn't necessarily mean you are getting more of that precious deep rest. Instead, you may simply be stretching the lighter, more restless phases, which can leave you groggier rather than stronger. Researchers have found that oversleeping is linked with slower circulation, more morning stiffness, and even fogginess in memory. The brain, like the body, thrives on balance. Too little rest leaves it exhausted, but too much can almost overwater it, making thoughts feel sluggish. Think of it like a garden. Water is essential, but if you flood the soil, the roots cannot breathe. In the same way, the mind needs sleep in the right measure, not in endless supply. This can sound concerning, but it isn't meant to alarm you. Instead, it's an invitation to see your rest not only as a number of hours, but as a living rhythm that shifts with age. It also helps explain why sometimes, after a long night, you wake up with more confusion than clarity. The body has been drifting too long in shallow waters, never quite reaching the depth it craved. So, what can you do with this knowledge? Start by asking yourself, do you feel mentally sharper after 8 hours, or do you notice more haze when you push beyond that? When you sleep longer, do you find your day beginning with energy or with reluctance? These questions are not a test. They are simply a way of observing the gentle science unfolding inside your own life. Understanding how the brain and body change with age can free you from blame. If your rest feels different now than it did 20 years ago, it's not because you are doing something wrong. It's because your body is wise enough to ask for a new rhythm. The beauty of this wisdom is that once you know the why, you can begin to shape the how. And in that awareness lies the power to wake not just rested, but truly alive. Creating a routine for sleep in later years is not about strict rules or harsh discipline. It is about finding a rhythm that soothes your body and mind like a familiar melody. Imagine how music feels when it flows at just the right pace, neither too fast nor too slow. Your nights can be like that, a gentle pattern that tells your body it is safe to rest and safe to wake. One of the simplest yet most powerful steps is waking up at the same time every morning, even on weekends. This may feel unnecessary at first, but the body loves consistency. Over time, it begins to trust that rhythm, and your mornings greet you with more steadiness. Pair this with a touch of morning sunlight, 10 or 15 minutes by the window or in the garden. Light is nature's clock, quietly reminding your system when it is time to be alert and later when it is time to let go. As the day moves toward evening, create a little ritual that tells your body, now we slow down. It doesn't need to be elaborate, perhaps a warm cup of herbal tea, a few minutes of stretching, or reading something soft and calming. These signals become anchors, gently leading your body into rest without forcing it. If you enjoy naps, let them be short companions, no longer than half an hour. Think of them as a sip of rest, not a full meal, so that your night's sleep can still nourish you fully. The point is not to deny yourself comfort, but to shape it so it works for you rather than against you. These steps may look small on paper, but together they create harmony. Like tuning an instrument, each adjustment adds clarity until the whole body begins to play in balance again. Ask yourself gently, what feels soothing to you at night? What small ritual could you begin today that signals to your mind it is safe to let go? What morning habit could give you a sense of lightness instead of heaviness? There are no wrong answers, only discoveries about what supports your unique rhythm. Aging brings the gift of awareness, and with that awareness comes the freedom to choose habits that serve you best. By creating a soft, reliable pattern around sleep, you are not restricting yourself, you are caring for yourself. You are giving your body and mind the structure they quietly crave, so that each day can begin not in confusion, but with clarity and calm. As we grow older, it becomes clear that sleep is no longer simply about numbers on a clock. It is not about reaching 9 or 10 hours as if they were medals of health. Instead, it is about the gentle quality of those hours, the way they leave you feeling lighter in spirit and steadier in body. The wisdom of age teaches us that more is not always better. Sometimes it is the balance between enough and too much that truly nourishes us. When you allow yourself to see sleep as a rhythm rather than a competition, a calm shift takes place inside. You begin to honor your body's signals instead of comparing yourself to others or clinging to what once worked decades ago. There is peace in knowing that 7 or 8 good hours filled with calm and depth can bring you far more clarity and comfort than stretching your nights until morning feels like a burden. Imagine waking not with heaviness, but with the soft readiness to meet the day. That is the gift of balance. It is not about strict discipline or rules, it is about trust. Trust that your body, in its quiet wisdom, knows what it needs now, even if it differs from what it needed at 30 or 40. This awareness is a form of grace, a reminder that aging is not about loss, but about learning new ways to care for yourself with kindness. And as you reflect on your own nights, perhaps ask yourself, how many hours of sleep truly leave you feeling restored? Not the hours you think you should get, but the ones that make your mornings brighter and your heart steadier. The answer will be your own personal measure of balance, and it may be gentler than you expect. If these reflections resonate with you, I invite you to subscribe so you can continue receiving more gentle guidance on caring for your body and spirit in later years. And I would love to hear from you. How many hours do you usually sleep, and how do you honestly feel afterward? Share in the comments. Your experience may be the exact wisdom someone else needs to hear.